Welcome to Guns 101, our video welcome message for new gun owners, brought to you by the Self-Defense Radio Network. I'm Rob Morse from Self-Defense Gun Stories. My partners are Amanda Suffolcool from Eye on the Target Radio, and the guy behind the curtain, lifting that heavy tech, that's Paul Lathrop from the Polite Society podcast. We have Amy Dillon with us again tonight. She's a firearms instructor, a firearms competitor, and a participant in the DC Project. Amy, millions of people brought a gun home. There's 16 constitutional carry states where if they own it, they can carry it in public. Talk to us about drawing your firearm from concealment.
Thanks, Rob. Well, there is a safe way to draw from concealment. And so I'm going to break that down, what that looks like, and talk about the different steps, 5-step draw, I call it. I'm going to talk about those different steps to safely unholster your firearm. So for this exercise, I'm going to go ahead and face forward since that's a safe direction. And the first thing I'm going to do is talk about the first step, which is clearing your concealed garments. Okay, so in my case, I've got a t-shirt on. So what I want to do is grab the bottom of my t-shirt. And what I want to do is pull it up so that I can have clear access to my gun. I want to make sure that in the second step, I'm getting that proper strong hand grip with my firing hand on the gun itself. And I want to make sure that our viewers know that, in order to do this, you have to know what a proper grip is. And just for this part of this exercise, the first point of contact you want to have with your gun is the webbing between your thumb and your index finger. And I want to make sure that when I grab the gun in its concealed holster, it's in a position to where it's high and straight, high firm pistol grip right there, so that when I pull it out of the holster, it's already in the correct position to absorb that recoil if I were to have to fire it after that time. So first step, clear my outer garment, concealed garments. I'm going ahead and grabbing my firearm just like so. We see that. I want to make sure I pull it out of the holster. And when I do that, it comes out just like so. When I'm doing that, I want to make sure that my non-firing hand is toward the center of my chest, because when I pull it out of the holster, I want to clear the holster. All right, and this is why it's important to have the proper retention with the belt on for your holster. But I clear it, I rotate the gun so it's facing forward, facing the perceived threat. And then at that point, I want to make sure I take my support hand, I cover up that exposed portion of the grip, so now I'm in a proper two-handed grip, and then I'm bringing that side up to my line of sight toward my target, automatically getting in a position to where I'm aiming it, and I'm lining up my sights. Okay, so again, those 5 steps are clearing my concealed garment, proper firing hand grip on the gun, clearing the holster, rotating it, keeping my non-firing hand behind the front of the gun, proper two-handed grip, and then at the same time extending it to my line of sight to where I'm towards the target I'm aiming at.
Well, that's pretty cool. You've broken it down into 5 simple steps so that people can practice each piece of it, and then when you put it together, it's just liquid smooth. And it accomplishes what you need to accomplish in an emergency. So practice is the critical portion.
I would definitely say for any new holster, any new gun, any different way that you're going to carry, you want to make sure you practice safely unholstering that gun. And what I do when I'm doing this is I have a designated target, that you can throw a target from the range or throw one that you've shot at, throw one up on the wall and let that be your designated target, because you also want to make sure that when you're doing that, you're bringing the gun up to the same position every single time. And that's going to ensure that in a quick, when you're quickly trying to react, you're not thinking about lining up your sights. You're not thinking about all these other steps you have to do to aim, in a matter of mere seconds, sometimes less than a second.
Right. So you want to be able to do that as fast as in we see people do it in a second, a little less than a second. Most people, as they start at about 3 seconds, and then they work their way down with repetition, with practice, to be able to do it. And part of it really has to do with the difficulty of how did you elect to carry concealed, and can you get it? I have a kind of a funny story, Amy. I had a guy who took my class, and he came to me, and he had elected a holster that, well, I'm going to name the brand name. It's called Thunderwear. And it's actually designed so you get a hold of your pants and you pull them out and you grab your gun. Well, in his case, his pants were too tight. So in order to be able to present his gun, he unbuckled his belt, unzipped his fly, and then showed me his holster, right? And I'm like, well, I'm wondering if the bad guy is wondering just what you're going to be doing. So
yeah, I'm familiar with that.
It really is. Every different type of carry method may require a modification in your manner of dress for it to work in the way that it was designed. And so you need to kind of think that through, and then you need to practice it. But if part of your drill involves kind of having to strip, it's probably not the carry method that's going to accomplish really what you want to accomplish. So
I also want to say that some guns have, speaking of practice, some guns have external safeties, some don't, and so that's another added step that you need to make sure you do when you're practicing these, drawing from a holster, drawing from concealment, routines. Is that if you have a gun that has a safety, if you have multiple guns and some have safety, some don't, you've got to get into that habit of knowing what you're carrying, knowing your equipment, knowing what you're wearing, where you're carrying that day. Because if you're not used to it, you might, second nature, go for your usual carry position, but oh yeah, I forgot I'm carrying a different way today. So it's definitely a good idea to practice every single way, every single gun, with every single holster you have.
So that you're familiar with it and you know exactly how it's going to react and how you need to react with it. Sounds great. You make it sound so simple. So folks, Amy Dillon, and Amy is the state rep for the DC Project. She is a former Marine trainer, and she's a current firearms trainer. So check her out.